Todd McFarlane, Humberto Ramos, Mark Bagley. The three artists I threw at you all have one thing in common. And no, it's not that they draw Spider-Man, which at the end of the day is pretty cool. But they all draw Spider-Man the Marvel way. The Marvel way is a book created by Stan Lee and John Buscema, which basically explained over lots and lots of art material such as perspective, characters, and... Okay, don't get me wrong, I love the book, but I'm not here to fully explain the whole entire book. But hey, you should definitely check it out. The Marvel way is basically drawing with no limit. Like, literally, scribbles from this into a masterpiece like this. Exaggeration in poses. Dynamic anatomy. Not too dynamic, no. That's scary. And what I like to call the line of action. First things first, materials. Today I'm using my iPad with my Apple Pencil. But don't worry though, you can always use paper and pencil to follow along. Anyways, let's get to the drawing. The software I am currently using for drawing is Procreate. I highly recommend it. It hasn't disappointed me ever since. Before starting, remember to use simplified form shapes when drawing the body. What I mean by that is use ovals for the face, use cylinders for the arms and legs, and use circles and squares for the chest and lower torso. You don't have to primarily use these shapes strictly. Play around and find what's best for you. For me, I tend to make a mess and then put in inorganic shapes. Another thing to add in the dynamic process is the line of action. The line of action is seen as a curve or a jagged line. The line is used as a reference towards your figure. As you can see in this example, the character punching with a straight line has no effect. As you can see in the body, it is just bland and no action. While when you use a curved line for the line of action, you create a more powerful punch and a more leap towards the character, rather than just having a bland, no effect punch. Here are some examples of dynamic poses and the use of scribbles and shapes. Pause if you'd like. Now finally we can start the Spider-Man drawing. First, I like to use a circle / oval to start the head, and I use a line in the middle so it can give me reference of where I can put my eyes. Then from that point, I like to put a bunch of scribbles to think around, use it as an imaginative space to put where I want the action to go. Right now it looks weird, but don't worry though, you can still scribble and scrabble. Right there, I'm going to put the hands. So this line in the middle is basically like the spine connecting towards the whole body. And from the end of that part, I'm going to add another line to give as a guidance for his legs. And there I'm adding more lines. Now I can add the torso, but first I'm going to add my circles for his arms, the deltoids. Now I'm adding in another line for his traps. Now for the torso, I use a square. Remember, this is all under drawing, so it doesn't have to look pretty. It can look messy. Now I add in the abdominals and the rib cage. And for the lower part, I like to use a underwear shape for the boxers, like a boxer type shape. Like this. Now we're almost done. We have most of the body now. Make it look a little bit better so you can understand where it goes where. I want Spider-Man to be like he's holding a web right here and his face is right here. and a bunch of web is pulling, like he's launching. He just shot a web and he's ready to soar through the city. And going back to the drawing, we have this circle here. Now we're gonna add a tube for his bicep and tricep. Then add the forearm by putting another tube. I'll clean this drawing in a bit so you guys can understand more. Right here, for the hand, I just use a simple box because it gives the illusion that it's like he's holding something. And then same goes for the other side. Tube, another tube, then the box, and then the hand. Pretty simple. And since the arm is on top of the chest, we can put more space into it. Now for the leg, since we had this guideline, we can use this to help us. You can add a circle at the top of the line, then add another line to create a rectangle. Same goes on this side. At the end of it, add a circle, then create another line. And you can see his legs, almost. Like that. It's almost done. I hope I'm not going too fast for you guys. Remember, you can always pause the video or rewind. Here, I'm adding another square-like shape. And then for his calves, I always use a little circle. And then I fill in the circle with lines around it. And then I use another tube to connect to the calf. Then for the leg, I just like to go around, add some circles and shapes. And the bottom of the foot, like a tiny triangle, and there's that. And same goes with this side. Circle for the calf. Add in the little tube. Then the circle for the bone of the foot. Then add in this shape and another shape. And look at that, we're almost done. I like everything about it, but I do not like this head at all. So I'm gonna go back into it, erase it. Fill this in. To fix what I made, I can go in again, add in an imaginary line. And using this little small guideline circle, I can add in an oval for his head. And since I want Spider-Man to look at the audience, I'm gonna add a bunch of squiggly lines as his web. Here I'm gonna put his eye line, and now we are basically pretty done about this part. Now we can start for the cleaning phase. Now that we're done cleaning up the drawing, we can start to finish it. For the spider, I like to do a small circle at the top and a big circle at the bottom. Fill in the circle. And for the arms of the spider, I like to do a line and a oval on each leg. There you go. Now for the blue parts of the suit, you have to do a little bit of space for the red. Right here on the chest, I'd like to do a small curve all around the body. Do the same thing on the opposite side. At the end of this line, you have a right corner. So you gotta make a right corner there. In Spider-Man's suit, he always has an arrow pointing towards the bottom of his suit. So right here, you draw the triangle, and you have most of the front suit. Now for his arms, continuing this curve, you follow along and keep making that line till you finish at this part. Now you make another line connecting it, and there's one arm. Now on the other arm, you do the same. There. For the legs, I like to cut it right at the middle of the calf for his boots. Now for his face, the web lines, I like to do a small circle in the middle. And I like to give the top of the head 3 lines. One in the middle, one in the left, and one in the right. For the bottom of the head, I like to do 2 lines. And additionally, you won't see this in the picture, but there's like a tiny line on the bottom left. Like that. Now to connect the webs, I like to start in the middle and do tiny U's connecting it. I do about 4 of these in a row. Same goes for the bottom. I only do 3. Now that you understand the basis of the head for the webbing, you can do the same thing on the arms and on the legs. Do as many lines as you like. I normally tend to do about 4 or 8. All depends. And now I'm going to speed draw the webs so you can pause the video or you can just follow along. Now that the webs are finished, we are now down to the last step, which is shading. When I shade, I always tend to do triangles or squares to shade it in. Since Spider-Man's suit has a blue reflective part, it has to have a small square at the end and a line at the top. Many Spider-Man artists don't necessarily shade perfectly, but that's okay because that's the beauty of Spider-Man. He's mostly seen as a cartoon character rather than a real life character. As you can see, it looks almost perfect. Now as the same thing goes, I'm going to speed draw this and you can stop or slow down the video and I'll see you there. And congratulations, you are done with the drawing. Now you know how to draw Spider-Man the Marvel way. Now here's a small video of how I drew the thumbnail. Anyways, thanks for watching the video. I hope you really liked it. See you later.